Oh wait, I believe the sound. Wait, is it on?
Thanks for that.
Yeah,
That's
it
where
is.
your hyperbole has gotten us. Well, what is happening in America is a literal attempt at fascism. It's not hyperbolic.
Okay,
Yeah, breaking into the Capitol in an orderly queue.
okay. What did he say here? One, he said that breaking into the Capitol is justified, and it was done orderly. The people who were breaking, some of them did walk in a queue. Um, yes, some of them were very tightly in that video that you could see of them walking on the red fucking carpet. But those people broke into parliament of the most powerful country in the world. The democratic libertarian, hello libertarian person over here, process was disrupted by a bunch of people who believed that the democratically election was overturned by this at the time sitting president, not by him, but to disadvantage him. So first of all, people that were breaking in didn't really believe in the democratic process, the libertarian democratic process, and then as well they were willing to block the speech, including the speech of people like Ted Cruz, who I believe that basically did the centrist take, and some others did, and others were, of course, radical Republicans. I, as the radical centrist, yeah. But okay, so first of all, he's fine with people breaking in into the capital of the most powerful country in the world, and he isn't he doesn't understand what that fucking means. He doesn't understand that, yeah, when people break into the parliament of the most powerful place in the world, democracy's overturned, and they had like fucking plastic things to like take hostages in like their hands and shit. And they were fighting, they were shooting in the capital. But no, first of all, he's denying facts. They weren't orderly because we're talking about them in general. Every person that did should, in my opinion, be thrown in jail for the rest of their life, only to set an example. And I mean that for Antifa and Black Lives Matter as well. Of course, if Antifa and Black Lives Matter did the same thing, they would all have been shot to death. Um, but Mr. Marcus Meekin over here doesn't understand the weight of his words. But, of course, he is super edgy, and therefore he doesn't have to take any responsibility for the shit that he has been saying. A take that I have myself have been using for a lot, but, in general, that is a shit take. But let's continue.
Shitting on a bunch of walls and stealing a podium, and
Okay, it's not a podium, it's the podium of, like, the speaker, of course, and they did more than just shit on the walls.
then all leaving when you get bored. Yeah, that.
They didn't. Did they leave when they get bored? I don't know. I find he thinks that the only intent was to break in and hang out there. It wasn't. It was to overturn the biggest and most powerful democracy on the planet. Um, so there's that. That's just they didn't hang out there to get bored. That's not all they did. And the president of the United States, and after those people joked about fucking lynching Mike Pence or hanging them, hanging him. I'm sorry if I, misquoted that. It could be honestly. And then of course, yeah. Let's just go through.
That's that's an attempt at fascism. I mean, that's
Yes, but overturning the biggest democracy in the fucking planet. Yes, that is literal fascism.
that's what happened during the beer hall push.
The beer hall wasn't, of course, the German parliament, but of course that requires historical knowledge and facts and logic, which Count Dankula, of course, doesn't have. The only thing that Count Dankula has is, being very edgy, which I think that there are like a, a lot of things that are more edgy that you could do than teaching your pug to do a Nazi salute. But of course, I will go to that later.
Hitler left when he was nicely asked.
He killed himself, and it wasn't in the parliament.
That's what happened. That's I mean that's such a shame that we could have totally stopped Russia falling to communism if If people during the, in 1917 just asked them to kindly leave the palace. If
So he thinks that, first of all, Donald Trump didn't kindly ask them to leave. He, wasn't okay with what they did. First of all, so he was okay with the coup in part. Second of all, talking about the Soviet Union in this regard is pretty hard. I'm gonna try and do it as well, but I feel that he really thinks that the intent of, the problem is the Russian Republic, not the Russian Empire that was sitting at the time in Russia, sort of the Kerensky government. I don't know if he was democratically elected. I believe Russia itself was too unstable to actually hold an election at the time. So, those people going into the palace did pretty much the exact same thing. Shots were fired. The problem that Count Dankula doesn't think this is the case is one, because his knowledge is very limited, and two, because all of the videos that are about the storming of the palaces in 1917 are all rigged, they're all fake, they're produced literally, it's literal Soviet propaganda.
if you could just kindly leave, please. If you could just leave the palace, please. Oh God, we could have saved millions of lives.
So he thinks that if, he thinks the difference between the Bolsheviks and the fascists in the US, yes, I'm gonna overthrowing a government, yeah, that's not even Mitt Romney republicanism, it's not even McCain, that's like fucking David Duke conservatism. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so he thinks that if the Bolsheviks were all, that's the main difference. Well, it is not. It's just that the public support fell, and that Donald Trump is a figurehead. Was a figurehead at the time. He was the sitting president, of the free world, the biggest the most powerful nation. And of course, Mr. Marcus Meekin here believes that that is not the case. That the only reason that their difference is that they were asked. And, he also forgets, of course, that, President Trump was forced to do so, most likely. But, I can't prove that fact, so.
Fucking hell. I don't for a second condone what happened in the Capitol, but it wasn't
Yeah, you did.
fascist. I spoke.
You compared it to, oh, look at me, I made some edgy jokes while it is, or, hanging out somewhere, and, it was, hanging out in the Capitol. It was like breaking into the Capitol over trying to kidnap congressmen, and then yeah.
To a lot of people on the ground, and the main reason they were pissed off.
Okay, this is something I can't debunk. But
was the lockdowns destroying their livelihood and constant smears by the media calling them fascists.
Now, okay, he thinks that calling the people in the Capitol, the Trump supporters there, is in general the same as calling every Trump supporter a fascist. I'm not saying that all Trump supporters are fascist. I'm saying that all fascists in the US are Trump supporters. Second of all, yes, you can say the same thing about communism. Yes, all communists not all Hillary supporters were communist, and okay, fine. No, it isn't in there. And in general, if you want that, there are Congress people that you could use, but in general, you overthrew it. You decided that it was okay to overthrow democracy. It is not. And to try and do it. I'm saying that in all way, I believe that Trump was totally with the system, although I want the popular vote system, but he was allowed to be there as president for 4 years. The people fucking democratically voted for them. But at the same time, I think he doesn't understand that it is a separate boundary you fucking cross when you also overthrow the process.
I have spoken to a few people on the ground there. One guy, he lost his bar. There was another guy that basically, he lost his job. He couldn't get another job. He's got bills to pay.
Yeah, this is all...
Yeah. Doesn't matter about the lockdown. You still got to pay those.
Yeah, in general, this is like a pro-socialism argument, but of course, so the left sucks as much as the right does.
Turn the election. If we go, we're just going to have to keep Trump now. We need another Who are
Yeah, and another like being edgy and making jokes and not really standing for anything.
balls? I'm pretty sure that's written in the law. Some clever, clever legal eagles there. I'm not saying there were not any far right there. There was. There was.
A small amount of people. He doesn't understand the significance of the capital. He doesn't understand how fucking holy, like, there isn't a lot keeping us from like fucking being in total anarchy. A parliament, a democracy, free speech. Those three things are part. And I'm not saying that Mr. Marcus Meekin here doesn't have the right to be a total dumbass.
But they were a small amount of them. So
No, you break into parliament.
brand an entire protest based on a small percentage of its.
I'm not saying. Oh, by the way, thanks for the opportunity. The people that were still outside of the capital, those people were the majority. They didn't get any. I believe that outside of the capital, you have every right to protest as much. Harassing individual congressmen, fucking Antifa harassing Ted Cruz in his like fucking dinner place. Yeah, that's bad.
Attendees is just very unfair. It's something that I used to do in the past. Wing protest is an Antifa protest.
Yeah,
right?
go to your second argument. Please make one.
Teeny tiny in everyone's good time. For example, pro-pedo advocates also demonstrated during the BLM riots. Would it be fair for me to call the BLM riots a pedo uprising?
Okay. The goal of Black Lives Matter isn't to give equal rights to pedophiles. That's not their goal. I believe this is like the same argument that he made, like a minority. Yeah, okay. So the goal of Black Lives Matter, I believe that what Black Lives Matter says in general is reasonable. I just don't trust them to. Don't want to handle them the keys to like fucking fix the problems with black people because they're Marxists. Yes, I really give that much of a shit about that. But okay, would it be fair? Does he think that if this would be Black Lives Matter, does he think that them hanging out there in Antifa would be seen as bad and also there is like an obvious right-wing bias in the United States. It doesn't really matter what you believe in, it's just an acknowledgement of fact. People are okay with right and not okay with left there. But yes, not a pedo uprising, but I would call it a communist coup. Yes, I would.
Just stuff like what you said gets every single person on the right branded as a fascist.
No, just the people in the fucking capital.
When they are not. It just honestly does not help. Fascist.
Not against unity, but you have to purge yourself from pedophiles if you're on the left and off the right of Nazis sometimes, because otherwise you get shit like people storming the Capitol.
Make up a teeny tiny percentage of the right, but whenever the right does anything, they get called fascist.
No.
Which is true.
I mean, there are idiots who call everything on the right fascist, or idiots who call everything on the left communist. I wonder what Count Dankula on average does more, and what his bias is in general. Okay, he doesn't really read anything. Okay, let's just pull back for a second. Let's talk about what Count Dankula... Okay, so I'm pretty sure I debunked this argument. And if anybody else wants to engage in good faith arguments, you're free to comment here. I might even do a fucking video response if that's what you want. But, okay, what is the problem? What is the Count Dankula problem? Okay, 1. A man who is a funny edgelord makes a video of a pug. Completely fine. Does a Nazi salute. He did the same with a fucking... I believe he made the same video with, like, a communist pug, or I might have like fucking dreamt that when I was doing cocaine. Second thing, he gets arrested. Fuck that. He has every fucking right to say whatever the fuck he wants, no matter who he offends. Even if he downplayed the Holocaust, he is more than fucking... And he made a ridiculous... Okay, yeah. I need to pull myself back. He has every right to say whatever he wants. Third thing, he then tries to play the edgy libertarian card. He has every right to profile himself as he wants, but he is contributing to a general direction of the right. He is libertarian, which is a word which is associated with the right, although it should be left. But nobody who calls himself libertarian knows what they are or should have believed, because in general it's a left wing thing. But that's why liberal is in Europe like a right wing thing, and in the US a left leaning thing, because the US is right wing and Europe is left. But okay, let's okay, what is the bigger problem? Okay, yeah, he doesn't take any responsibility for the things that he said. When he was debating Vosh, he literally just said, "I'm not a racist. I don't believe." I believe him, by the way. I believe that when he says, "Oh, I don't care about race," I believe he thinks that. But in general, with the edgy, like fucking black leather, like fucking anti-communist thing, yeah, in general, he pushes the narrative to the right, which does contribute to people like Donald Trump getting elected, and he never takes responsibility for that. Okay, I believe I've said everything that I wanted. If you made it this far, kudos to you. I would really suggest seeking a therapist, because, and yeah, I mean, honestly, I really doubt that there is anything else. I mean, what Seth Rogen said, he doesn't have a lot of intellectual capabilities as well. Yeah, yeah, fuck Seth Rogen for what he said. Yeah, Count Dankula is better than Seth Rogen, but it's a spectrum of shit, and pretty much everybody is shitty except for me. Debate me. But okay, that's it. That's all that I have to say. Please engage in good faith arguments down below, and if anybody feels like calling me out or in general, you're free to do so, and I will try my best to respond. See you later. Bye.